just in case we get another repeat of yesterday, I'm making sure to record it again.
Also, thank you for taking the time to edit it and upload it. Yeah, I sent a message to Max this morning letting him know what happened, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Terry already fixed it." Wow, thank you.
No
Hello,
problem.
baby. Oh, snap. It's in my pocket.
We need to get this man a button.
Just on air sign.
What is this shortcut in Zoom to move? Zoom report. You
Yeah, Shift Command A.
Command Shift A. Yeah, I propose we send this, and we'll just bind it to Command Shift A. Put a
And then we'll
little
connect it
put a
to the
little
on-air sign.
Raspberry Pi Pico. Yeah, put a sign behind it. Big old button. Okay. We made it. We made it to the end of the week. Happy Thursday. Sort of like Friday in the world of careers and code. Does it feel like that to anybody else, or is it just a Thursday to all of you?
I get the slight feeling that it's Friday, and then I go to work tomorrow, and I'm like, oh wait, never mind.
And then you wake up and yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
definitely it's still one more day to go.
yesterday off. So I thought today was Monday. I work at normal Monday through Friday. What a nice
You're all
surprise.
screwed up. Hey, does everybody have Memorial Day off? Some people?
I wish I did, but I don't.
Mm.
All I know is we don't have class on that day, so
Max is getting a long break. Is Max teaching next week? Do you have another guest instructor? Is it Max?
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Max is back.
yeah. Max comes back
So
Tuesday.
what can I do to ruin next week for him? He's whatever he's teaching, can I give you like the condensed 10-second version of it and then y'all could just sit there next week and go, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
I think we're back to JavaScript.
So do you want me just real quick and in about an hour just give you the lowdown on JavaScript?
Yeah,
Yes,
I wouldn't mind that actually. To be honest.
that
I won't retain any of it, but
that
sure.
sounds actually good.
I do
You
have a couple fun things that I could show you if y'all want. But let's actually break this down into uh something that we can actually do tonight. Well, before we well, all right, let's take this one step at a time because I got Thursday brain on and I'm ready to go. This is my favorite class by far because today is going to be short and we're going to get to talk about some fun stuff and then we get to wrap up pretty quick. So I'm really excited about today. So let's talk about what we're going to do briefly. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure that all the websites are deployed. And then we're going to follow that up with some terminal stuff because this is DevOps week, and if we don't do terminal stuff, I would be selling y'all short. Before we do the terminal stuff, though, I want to do a couple JavaScript things, just things that I think you'll find fun, and then that's it. You're done with me for this week. Okay. Let's start by talking about the websites and making sure that they work. So I did a thing real quick with my website, and I just took all of y'all's websites and I shoved it on mine. If anybody's ever done MySpace coding, you'll recognize iframes. I just thought that it was 2000 again, and here's a bunch of iframes. So, anyways, I put everybody up here. I'm just gonna pick on a couple of people because I assume that if you've got something showing up on the screen and it works, I assume you're good to go. If you're not, holler at me and I'm happy to answer any questions because, like I said on Monday, the whole goal of this week is to get you a working website and to make sure that you feel comfortable, excuse me, and to make sure that you feel comfortable deploying to it. So so I'm going to pick out a couple people here and make sure that their websites are looking good. And then after that, we will move on to the next two things that I want to talk about tonight. Before we jump into this, does anybody have any questions for me or any concerns? And couple that with the fact that, again, I'm going to go through each website. So if you have a website concern or a website question, please feel free to hold off until I get to you. But just general questions or questions about the week so far. Before we jump into this? Terry, go for it.
Yeah, are you about to put that extra credit back on the screen, or was that like a one-time deal?
No, it is not a one-time deal. Let's do it. Let me sign into AWS and let me turn on the server real quick. Oops. I could do this. Okay. This is my normal user. Okay, sign in. Let's go to virtual servers and
Sorry,
let's
I'm
turn
so sorry. Do you mind recapping just the first 6 minutes?
first 6 minutes. We've been going for 2 minutes, I think. I think first 4 minutes were jokes, and last 2 minutes have been me talking about these four things that we're
Okay,
gonna
that's
do.
reassuring.
Yeah, you're good. You're right on time. Don't worry. Uh, extra credit, fun stuff. Okay, the server is running. Extra credit fun stuff is officially open for shenanigans. Here's the window. And we'll give it a second because it's got to warm up. Do, 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 do. Go. Um, yeah, any other questions before we jump into the deploy-a-thon, fixing all the websites?
Hmm.
I thought I took out that orange in my middle name, and now it's still there.
Uh, you thought you took out your orange in your middle name. Oof. Well, so one thing we can do is we can go and debug what is happening with your website. So let's go take a look at your repo. Here's your latest push. Yesterday, you updated your index.html. Let's see what's in there. You changed it from Apple to Rhiannon in the title. However, if we look at the code itself and we search for the word orange, alas, still part of the H1.
Okay.
So maybe go check out your in GitHub desktop, um, go and check out and make sure that you have pushed that code change.
Hmm.
Other questions or thoughts before we jump into this? Also, for the people trying to do the challenge, I apologize. The IP address has changed because I started and stopped the server. Here is, yeah, the IP address totally changed. Bear with me for 1 second while I restart the challenge. Joe, I am going to take your, oh, no, I'm going to leave part of your hack in, but I'm going to drop one part of it. There we go.
You're gonna leave the peeps part in, right?
I'm going to leave the Joe is here part, but feel free to come back and add whatever you like to it.
Fair enough, I guess.
Oh, and then it would probably be helpful if I. Okay. All right, so let's hop into the websites real quick. Shadia, are you here tonight? No, I don't think so. Okay. Um, so all these look good. Let's keep going. Scroll down. The next one, Joe. Oh, you did the domain transfer, right? That's why this is forked.
I was I was going to do the domain transfer, and then what I'm doing to try and get it to go quicker is I just changed the A tags and it's linked. I'm just in the middle of verifying that, and domain roundup takes forever to send a verification code, so it should be
Sure.
up by the end of class.
Okay, sounds good. We'll come back to that later. Terry, how's your stuff going? Oh, this is www. I'll bet that if we just do this, yeah, okay. My bad. The link was just off in the doc. Um, One thing that I wanted to point out for folks yesterday that stuck around at the end of class is that you can create a record to allow you to do the www. So, for example, if you go to Namecheap and you go to and sign into your account, you don't have to do this. This is only for the folks that really like having that www part there in the URL. But if you want to add that, all you have to do is go to Namecheap under Advanced DNS, and where you have that alias record, the at and then the value of your GitHub repo, you just need to add a second one. So under alias, create a new record, a second alias record, and you can put www in there for the host, and then um, the value will still be your GitHub page, and that will make it so that you can load your website with www as a subdomain.
It allows you to do both, right?
Yes, it allows you to do both. Exactly. Okay, and then I will fix this on my website so this frame will load. Mike, Mo, yours looks good. Hazad, how is yours going? Oh, we're just missing the HTTPS, I believe. So if you go to your repo,
Got you. Go to my
go,
repo.
yep, exactly. So go to github.com.
GitHub. I'm at pages.
Exactly. Scroll down and hit that enable HTTPS button.
Enable. Okay.
You- You see what I'm talking about?
Yep, it's still not letting me enforce. It says DNS check unsuccessful. Still.
So run that check again, and after you run the check again, see if it lets you hit that enable HTTPS box.
Okay, just waiting. TLS certificate is being provisioned.
Perfect. That should make it work here in a couple of minutes. So we'll just give it a little bit more time. Christelle, yours looks great. And then is Anwar here tonight?
He's having issues, technical issues with his laptop, so he's unable to attend right now, but he might join in later on.
Okay, well, I'll have to remember to um, come back and check in on him. Other than that, it looks like everybody's stuff works. So I think we can move on. Does that sound good? Unless anybody has any questions.
Oh, I'm good now.
Yeah, your TLS certificate is going to get provisioned if we just give it a minute. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it loads. It looks great.
Okay, I'm trying to hit the enforce HTTPS. Still not letting me do it.
I think you already enabled it. Is the box checked?
No, it's not checked.
Strange.
Like
Well, they definitely issued a TLS certificate for you.
I am now screen sharing just so you can see it. Every
Let
time I
me
hit.
stop sharing. Yeah, so I think it's provisioning it. Can you just refresh this page real quick?
Yes, sir, I definitely can. Ah, there we
Perfect.
go. That's clutch. Thank you, boss.
Nice. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay.
Oh, I was gonna on mine, I was having
Yeah.
the issue yesterday with the it wasn't it kept saying it was improperly configured. It's still saying that, but it's giving me a new message saying that they recommend using a C name record instead of an A record for
Do
mine.
you mind sharing your screen?
Yeah.
Oh, because we set up that www record.
Okay.
I think that it's upset about us using another alias record, and apparently it wants us to switch that to a CNAME record. I think a CNAME record will achieve the same thing. I think both will work. We could definitely switch it though. So let's try it. Down on the www, trash that record. Let's create a CNAME record. Think.
Oh, I don't know what is happening there.
You refresh the page. Maybe you're not logged in anymore. I bet you got kicked out overnight.
Oh, okay. Yep. Grab my phone real quick. There we go.
Yeah, so let's add a new record. I don't know if, yeah, okay, CNAME record. The host would be www, and the target would also be the same value. Yeah. And for the rest of the folks watching, this is just an experiment to see if this makes GitHub happy. Because I think you're gonna hit check again, and I don't know how quickly it's going to get that DNS record. So you might have to, oh,
That quick.
well, there you go. Yeah, that's pretty dang quick. Nice. So for folks that want to do the www record, you're gonna have more luck using the CNAME. So if we go and check on your website now and use, where is this? Oops. And check by using the www version. See, this isn't working now. And I wonder if it's because I don't have the new record yet. It's now redirecting me. Oh, that's strange. See, I go to it and then it chops off the www. But
Yeah, my www is not working.
okay. Yeah, that's strange. I've used the alias record before in the past to get the www subdomain. Yeah, I don't know why GitHub's complaining and wants it to be a CNAME record.
You showed me like how to add that record, the www record again.
Oh yeah, totally. So we can do it on, I'll do it on my website. Oops, Namecheap. Go to Namecheap, find your domain, and click manage. We need to get to that advanced DNS page. And I think that, so here's what happens if you use, oh, I see what's happening here. So when GitHub Pages issues that TLS certificate, I'll bet you that they do it without issuing you a certificate with it's not a wildcard certificate, and I could prove that by looking at the certificate here and showing you all what a TLS certificate looks like. So yeah, here we go. So when GitHub issues you a TLS certificate, the thing that creates that HTTPS and then the lock icon that encrypts traffic to your website, they do it with the common name. And that means that the certificate is issued for this exact domain name. And what we would want is we would like the TLS certificate to be issued not only for this common name, but also for www dot whatever the domain name is, right? So that's why we're getting these HTTPS errors. The other thing that GitHub could have done for us is it could have also issued us what's known as a wildcard certificate, meaning that instead of provisioning a TLS certificate for every possible subdomain that we might ask it for, it could have given us this, which also would have been valid. And they're not doing that. So I will have to do a little bit more research into how to make GitHub Pages HTTPS work. I think that's why the CNAME record works, is because the CNAME record is taking us from www when you type it in and redirecting us to the non-www part, which then the TLS certificate loads.
So we
All
go
that to
to
say,
oh,
yeah,
sorry.
all that to say, Cornelius, all that to say, if you go to Namecheap and create a alias record with www, or sorry, not an alias record, a CNAME record with host www and value same thing as what you had for your alias record, that should make your www work. And I'm just curious if I open this up in my terminal. Curious if we do a dig on this, if we look at the DNS entries directly, we'll see that it's an A record. It's a bunch of A records to GitHub's servers, which makes me think that this hasn't finished. This hasn't
Yeah,
finished updating.
Yeah, I was gonna say my www is still saying the site can't be reached, so it's probably taking time to change.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, so let's give it a minute and see how long it takes for it to.
It works now.
Oh, nice. Okay. I want mine to work. Let me query Google's DNS servers and see. Oh, okay. So now it's changed. Now if I go and visit, yeah, now I get the nice redirect. Cool. Next time that we talk, I'll talk a little bit about a program called CertBot. So one of the scams, not scams, um, one of the offerings that you'll see when you buy a domain name is they'll try to sell you a TLS certificate or an SSL certificate when you buy the domain name. And sometimes they'll charge up to $30 when you buy the domain name, charge you $30 for an SSL certificate. You can get SSL certificates for free using a site called Let's Encrypt. So it's kind of a convenience. It's sometimes a really expensive convenience thing, but you effectively can generate your own TLS certificates. And we'll talk about this the next time we meet a couple weeks before capstones. Okay. Any other questions before we move off of the website and into what's next? Into a couple of fun JavaScript things.
Yeah,
Mine?
just a quick question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the TSL certificate, does it essentially make it so that your website has the lock button up above? Is that what I'm thinking, or?
That is exactly it. Yes.
All right, perfect. Yeah, thanks.
And just one thing to expand on that. Before the lock button, traffic used to be unencrypted between you and the website, which meant that anybody that was sitting on the Wi-Fi router, like at a coffee shop or whatever, could see everything that you that you sent to the website, and the website sent back to you. Nowadays, it's a lot more secure because as soon as you load this website, you grab that TLS certificate, and it acts like a one-way uh, key. So everything that you send is encrypted, and only the website can read it. But again, we'll talk about this in a little bit more depth next time that we meet. But great question. Anybody else?
Mine is saying verified, but also unverified. Should I be concerned?
Your TLS certificate under the
No,
GitHub Pages stuff?
on GitHub, it's the domain is saying it says verified, and then next to it says unverified.
I don't know what that means. Can you share your screen? Oh, so I don't know what this page is necessarily, but the place that we care about is the repository itself. So if you go back to your github.io repository.
Down here?
So go to github.com.
Okay. Different page, or can I get to it from
Yeah,
here?
yeah, you can get to it from here. Just click on this icon.
Okay.
And then go to your repositories. And then this. And then settings. And finally, pages. If everything on, and if you scroll down a little bit, everything down here is good, then everything with your domain is good.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, that DNS check in progress, I'm assuming that it's gonna go green.
We'll find out.
Okay, yeah, let me know if it doesn't. But your website looks good to me. It's loading on my end. Are you able to reach it?
Yes.
Yeah, great. So yesterday, all we needed was just a little bit of time for those DNS records to propagate. Cool. Anybody else?
My DNS check is unsuccessful still, but it is allowing me to load it up. I don't know if that's because I I got it set up not too long ago. So maybe it's just
Looks good to me.
yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna go load it.
yeah. I guess
Yeah,
don't
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about what the GitHub Pages stuff is saying, so long as you're able to, so long as your website's able to load and you have a valid certificate, should be good.
Okay, I had to be sure.
Cool. Anything else? Okay. So the only thing that I really wanted to talk about tonight is some terminal stuff and getting folks a little more comfortable with using the terminal. Before we jump into that, though, I have a couple of things I can share about JavaScript, but before I do, I need to get a sense of where all of you are at in terms of your JavaScript proficiency. What's the last thing that you did? Tell me something that you recently did with JavaScript.
Right now, I absolutely suck at JavaScript. I go over the class, the few classes that we had on it from last week, but it's been rough. I was able to do the homework, but it's been rough.
But tell me what were you doing recently?
Uh, so we was doing like arrays, a couple of booleans,
Okay.
things like that.
Okay.
Iterating through loops.
Oh, yep.
I'm
For
sorry,
loops.
using loops to iterate through arrays and objects.
Okay. What's the point of being able to do that?
Being able to pull data out, manipulate the data that's stored within the arrays and objects.
But I mean, what can we, okay, so we know that. What can we do with that? What can we do with that information? Well,
Use it as
let's
a way
find
to pull
something.
reports.
Yeah, let's find a way to do something cool with that. So I'm gonna pick on myself, and I'm gonna pick on this 2000s era iframe HTML nonsense that I was writing before class started, that powers this page here. Right? So this is an array. Does anybody disagree? Does anybody think it's a different data structure than an array?
Is it stored
I'm
in an
cool.
array? It looks like
I'm
it's
cool with being
coded right
wrong.
into the element.
I mean, this seems like an array to me. It's an array of divs.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like mostly a div array for HTML.
Yeah. I mean, we're software engineers, so the idea of arrays, the idea of lists, these are universal concepts. They're not just tied to the JavaScript idea of what an array is, because the JavaScript array of an idea is a very concrete thing, right? I know that this probably isn't how Max is doing stuff, but I'm just gonna create a script tag here and write some JavaScript. Is everybody cool with that? Okay. So
Yes, sir.
the JavaScript idea of an array is very concrete. There's only one version of this, right? It is that, right? But in the computer science world, all of this is an array. This is totally a list of div elements. But let's see, what can we do that's actually useful for our website with arrays? What could we do with iteration to be able to do something meaningful with JavaScript on this site? And one idea I have is, well, let's loop through each of these items, each of these divs, and do something to each of them. How would we go
Just
about
went to
doing
the
that?
You could store the URLs and then sort them alphabetically.
Ooh, that would be good. I mean, does anybody think that this is super inefficient? I mean,
Um,
it took me like 10 minutes to copy and paste all of these divs. Is there a better way that I could construct all this HTML? I mean, does
um,
anybody
You mean
see?
time wise or from like the computer's perspective, like efficiency?
I guess both.
I'm thinking like when it gets a link, it then categorize. Sorry, it's been a minute. I'm trying to think computer science wise about it. It's like if you run it through a program where it searches through and gets the link, takes the link and stores it, and then attach. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah,
The
no, you're all good. It's
it
Thursday.
would probably be equally efficient. I'm trying to like remember all the big O notation,
Well, hang on, hang on, hang on.
everything. I
We're
think they're the same.
we're not. This isn't a coding interview. Hold on. Nobody's talking about Big O in here. No, let's come up with something fun that we can do here. So, does anybody know how we can, from JavaScript, how we can find elements in the HTML page? So have you guys talked about document?
Isn't
Okay,
it
Oh,
so
get
there's
element by ID.
yeah, exactly, document. So let's do document. And sorry, I don't remember exactly what it is. So I'm gonna cheat and use my inspector over here. Document get element by and so what I want to do is I'm going to go and get let's get all of the H3s. Does that make sense? So let's grab each of the H3s and let's try to get them into a list that we can iterate over. So does anybody know how we could do that?
Go by tag name.
Let's see if this works.
Yeah.
Nope, it doesn't. Get elements
iframe.
by tag name H3. There we go. That returns something. Does that look like an array to anybody?
Just
Looks like an array to me.
to me, yeah.
This is one of the cool things I like about the inspector is that you could try some stuff out in your inspector console, like get elements by tag name, and then when you hover over it, you could see each one of these is highlighted. I'm using Firefox. I'm sure this is probably the same thing in Chrome, but okay. So, anyways, let's do that. Let's get get element by tag name H3. And that should return that should return a list, right? And we can prove it by doing console log
Yeah, I was gonna
A.
say console log.
And then let's just refresh this page and see. Oh, this is my website. I need to switch to my local version. Sorry about that. Let's open index. Here we go. This is the website I want. Get element. Oh, it's get elements. Refresh. There we go. Here's our stuff. So it console logged out that list. Great. So we have a list of H3 elements. So our JavaScript has reached into this HTML page and it's grabbed each of these HTML objects. So what can we do with each of these? Better question. How can we start doing work on this list of objects? How can we start iterating on it?
For loop. Wait.
For loop, yep. So let's actually give this a better name. So these will be our objects, or I'll call them elements. So what's the mechanics for our for loop? There's a couple of ways to write our for loop. We can do the classic I equals 0, I is less than elements dot length, I plus plus. Is that still a fashionable thing to do?
Somewhat, or we can do a for each because we're doing each no wait, no, that's something else, sorry.
For you could do for site of sites that loops through the array.
Like that? So if I refresh the page, am I going to see elements printed out one by one by one as this console log fires? Sure enough. Either one of these two approaches will work.
And I don't mean to speak for everybody, but I think that might be where people get a little confused by is setting up that loop and what the um, each variable is referencing and what's actually happening there.
Yeah. Is that true? Do other people share the same sentiment?
Uh, I
Like
believe
what's
this.
happening on 82 and 83.
Yeah, like we're going through the length of what's being obtained in the elements stored. So I believe this will be good to do.
I gotta say, as computer scientists, there's a level of magic that we have to accept. And one piece of magic is that there's two ways to write a for loop. There's the classic, I'm going to allocate some kind of number and I'm going to go from 0 to some other number one at a time. That's a piece of magic that we have to accept because this way of writing our for loop has three elements. It has an initializer for an element, or sorry, an initializer for a variable. It has a condition check followed by an action that's going to occur at the end of every iteration in the loop. That's just the mechanics of a for loop. We have to accept that. The other piece of magic that we can equally accept is the let of magic. This one, which is a much, in my opinion, much simpler way of writing the same loop, right? Because we got rid of needing to have that magic number, we got rid of having that magic conditional, and then we got rid of that magic step that occurred at the end of every iteration, the I plus plus. So one of these two pieces of magic you have to accept and accept pretty quickly because as programmers, we're going to write for loops a ton. Okay, so this is our for loop. I'm just going to go with this one because I think it looks a lot cleaner than the other one, but both will work. Okay, so we have an element, right? What could we do with each of these elements? Well, there's a lot of different things that we could do besides console log. One of the things that we can do with our element is we could console.log the element.inner HTML. Has anybody seen this before?
No, that's new to me.
So inner HTML is just going to get the literal text between, or sorry, the literal HTML between these tags in the element. So for example, if we were to put another tag in here, like a P tag, and save, I'm going to refresh. Check out the fact that on this last one, we also got the P tag as well. So inner HTML says, give me the raw contents of whatever is in this HTML object. The other thing that we can do is we can get the inner text, which is give me the representation, the text representation, not the HTML representation, but the text representation of whatever is inside of this HTML object. So here's two cool node properties for you to play with: inner text and inner HTML. I'm going to use inner text because I think that's a little bit more interesting. One thing that we can do is we can overwrite this property, this inner text property. So I'm going to take element.innerText and I'm going to treat it like a variable. I'm going to replace it with cohort 6. Does anybody have any ideas about what's going to happen when I refresh the page?
It should show websites from cohort 6 through the stored list of elements.
It should just make every element in the array equal to cohort 6. So all those spots where there's websites should now equal cohort 6, right?
Yep. Nice. So through JavaScript, we have the ability to modify our HTML. That's it. I mean, that's the basis of JavaScript, right? Like we're going to write some HTML, and then we're going to do some stuff with JavaScript to make our HTML more interactive. There's a couple cool things that we can do with this. I gave you one here. Somebody pointed out that you already have used inner HTML before. One thing that you might not have used before in the past is a function called set timeout. And it looks a little funky, but bear with me for a second. Does anybody know what this is going to do? Has anybody ever seen set timeout?
No, this is new to me.
So set timeout is a way for you to schedule some sort of function to happen sometime in the future. So this just means that after 5,000 milliseconds, so after 5 seconds, execute the code within this block. So we can shorten that to 1 second, 1,000 milliseconds. Refresh the page. Notice how all the links change to cohort 6. You can get crazy with this, right? You can do a lot of stuff with set timeout. You could schedule a lot of stuff with JavaScript to run in the future. One of my favorite things to do is if my website is loading something that's dynamic, I can set it up to automatically refresh the page on a certain interval. So that's one cool use of set timeout. The other thing you can do is you can do this. And then you can yeah. It's going to be a little bit of hacking here, so hold on for a second. So every time that this function runs, it's going to continually call set timeout over and over and over again. And now it's scheduling something after I don't know how many loops, it's going to just completely overwhelm this page. This is what's called a recursive function, a never-ending recursive function call. And at some point, my browser is going to run out of memory and crash. Okay, that's the last of the the fun JavaScript stuff I have to share. Hopefully I shared something helpful at the beginning of this. Now I'm starting to just devolve into ridiculousness here at the end. I appreciate you bearing with me. Any questions?
All right,
So
this
is
might be
sorry, Safi, go ahead.
okay, just really quickly, but this might be a little off topic, but in reference to the set timeout and you using it especially for dynamic websites, I was always curious how folks were able to pull essentially like data from an Excel sheet that essentially represents like a greater data like backlog and then have it like reset on a timer as well. I don't know if you're understanding the question very well or if I'm
Absolutely, I am. Yeah, that's a traditional computer science problem. Like I have some sort of data somewhere and I want to display it on my website in a nice, easy to understand fashion and maybe refresh it as the data changes somewhere behind the scenes, right? Is that accurate?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so not this week, or sorry, not next week, but my friend Ryan Goss, he's going to come and talk to you about APIs, and that is 100% going to be the solution to your question. That's totally a computer science problem that we solve all the time. Cool.
Awesome. Thanks. You can go ahead, Cornelia.
All right.
Nope, that's already been answered. Thank you.
All right. All right, so that's the fun JavaScript stuff I have. Let's talk a little bit about the terminal, and then that is all I've got for you tonight. Okay. I've already shown you some stuff in the terminal, and I want you to feel comfortable with it. I don't think anybody expects you to abandon using Finder because first off, for some of you, this might be your first Mac, and um, you might already be kind of feeling lost in terms of how to use it. So I don't want to strip away the one tool that you have. And by the way, when I say Finder, I mean this thing, right? The Explorer version of the Mac version of Windows Explorer. I don't want to strip that away from you. So I'm not saying after today just abandon Finder completely and only live in the terminal. But what I do want to do is introduce you to a way of navigating on your computer that's a bit more meant for power users. And as software engineers, we're always looking for quicker ways of doing things. And this is just one of them. There's a lot of ways to get into a terminal. I've shown you a couple ways already. There's the terminal app, right? This thing. And this is a great way of getting started. You could totally get a lot of miles out of this terminal. The other one that is really popular is the iTerm. That's another way of getting access to a terminal on your machine. I really like iTerm. And then lastly, there's one that's built into VS Code, and I see a lot of students use this, and I think it's great as well. I'm going to show you how to get to a terminal using VS Code specifically. So if you go into GitHub Desktop and you open any repository that you have right now and open up VS Code through it, and then right click anywhere in Explorer, I think you can get to it from the menu bar. There's the new terminal up in the menu bar. You could right click in the Explorer window and click open an integrated terminal. Any one of these will get you this on your screen. I know a lot of students like using terminals in VS Code because you've got your code right above you and then the terminal right below you. I think it's great. The other thing that's nice about doing it in VS Code is that when you open the terminal, it's going to it's going to start your terminal session right next to your code, so you don't have to navigate from the root of your hard drive all the way down to where your project is. But we'll talk about that in a minute. And again, the reason why I want you to have some exposure to this is first off, it's DevOps week, but second off, because there's some programs like Dig that we used earlier. There's some programs that you can only use in the terminal. So I want you to be familiar with it. When you get to later on, excuse me, when you get to writing backend code, so writing Node.js code, the only way that you're going to be able to do that is through a terminal. So at that point, you'll need to feel pretty comfortable with executing commands in the terminal, as that's going to be the only way that you can run your code. Any questions so far on this?
None at all.
Okay. So the first command I'm going to give you several commands tonight, but I want you to commit to memory these first five. So the first one I'm going to give you is called CD. CD stands for anybody familiar with terminal tools?
Change directory.
Change directory. Nice. So CD just moves you around. That's it. So let's practice that. So go ahead and find your terminal somewhere. I don't care what you use. You can use the built-in terminal. You can use iTerm. You can use VS Code. Just get access to a terminal somewhere. Okay, we're going to use CD to navigate. So the first thing you should note is that all the stuff that we're about to do, you can't get in any trouble doing. You're not going to crash your computer. You're not going to blow it up. You're not going to tear down the firewall accidentally. So all of these commands, feel feel free to experiment with them. Don't feel like anything that you do is going to get you into too much trouble. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to just type CD. If we just type CD and we don't tell it a directory that we want to go to, and we just hit enter, it's going to take us to our home directory, which is symbolized in the terminal as this squiggly line, this thing right here. Okay. So if we just type CD, and you can type CD and hit enter until you're blue in the face, and you'll keep going back to your home directory. CD with no arguments just means take me to my home directory. And what do I mean by my home directory? Well, let's talk about that for a second. Once you inside of the terminal, think of it like you're moving around inside of your hard drive, similar to how you move around inside of Finder, right? In Finder, when we go to our desktop or we go to a folder, we click around, right? And we're navigating inside of this window. We're navigating around in our computer. Well, it's the same thing inside of the terminal. We're at a certain position in our terminal whenever we issue these commands. So right now, when we type CD and hit enter, we're in our home directory. What does that mean? Well, let's look. The next command I'm going to teach you is PWD, present working directory. If you hit enter, that shows you the path of where in the current terminal session, the path that your terminal is currently sitting at. Okay, so if you ever use CD in the terminal to move around and you're wondering, well, where am I right now? If you type in PWD and hit enter, it will tell you exactly where in the hard drive we are. So, so CD takes us and puts us in our home directory. You can see that I'm in my home directory because I'm at /user/Nevins. If you did PWD, I'm assuming you see /user and then your username. Is everybody seeing that? Cool. All right, so let's move around. Let's use CD to move into our documents folder. So let's start typing CD and then documents. Note that the file system is case sensitive, so we need to use the proper casing for our directories. So let's CD into our documents folder. And then if we run PWD, notice that yes, indeed, we have moved into the documents folder. All right. And then let's use CD with no arguments, and that will return us back to our home directory. From there, we can do things like we can CD into our downloads folder. We want to do, if we want to run some commands inside of downloads, we can CD and then go back to our desktop. So this is how we move around using the terminal. The next command I'm going to show you is called ls, and ls stands for list. So once you're in a directory and you want to know what files you have in there, type in ls, and that will list out all of the files in the directory. It's essentially the same thing as looking at Finder and seeing all the files that that are currently in that directory. Any questions about that?
I was gonna say from a programmer's experience, like, is this the very helpful tool when you are working like with projects when you are just knee deep in like, directories, or just mostly handling like other people's projects you wanted to know like what exactly is in that directory?
Yeah, it's a lot faster than hunting and finding it with Finder. And there's a couple of things that will really speed things up. For example, if you are using CD, one of the cool things you could do is you could start to type in the name of a folder. Like I could start to type in DOC, and if I hit tab, it will auto-complete the folder name. It seems like a really small thing, but it really starts to add up in terms of speed. That's something that you can't really do with a mouse in terms of clicking through Finder.
All right, thank you.
Mhm. Okay,
Oh,
and then at any time, if we want to get out of this terminal in VS Code, there's a big X over here. You can exit out of the terminal at any time. You don't have to worry about it's just like Finder. It's just like closing a window. You don't have to do anything special with exiting out of your session. Okay, so I've shown you three commands: cd, ls, and pwd. Those are kind of some of the three fundamentals. I've got two more commands for you, and then we're going to do a quick exercise. MV and CP. So MV is stands for move, and CP stands for copy. And this just allows you to move a file from one location to another, and copy allows you to copy a file from one location to another. They both commands take two arguments: what you want to move and where you want to move it to. Let me show you how this works. So I'm going to open up my terminal here. So I'm sitting inside of my GitHub repo for deluxe.github.io. And if I do an ls, I'll see the files that I expect. I've got my index.html, my styles.css, weather.html, all that sort of stuff here in this folder. What if I wanted to make a copy of index.html and what if I wanted to make an about.html? So right now I have a weather.html, but I don't have an about page. I could go into VS Code. I could create a new folder. I could type about.html. I could go into index.html. I could grab all the stuff in here and paste it into about.html. I could do all that stuff inside of VS Code. Alternatively, I could achieve the same thing in the terminal by saying CP, which stands for copy, and it takes two arguments: what you want to copy and where you want to copy it to. So I'm going to copy the index.html, and I'm going to copy it to about.html. And now I have my about file. Any questions about that?
Could you
so
specify to put it somewhere else?
yeah, I was gonna say the same
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's say that we wanted to take all of our HTML and move it into a folder. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder, and I'm going to call it HTML. So I'm going to move, or sorry, I'm going to copy index.html into this HTML folder. And the way that I can do that is I can just say copy index.html. Remember, it takes two arguments: what you want to move and where you want to move it to. Or sorry, what you want to copy and where you want to copy it to. So I would copy index.html into the HTML folder slash, let's call this index.html. So I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'm going to put it in this folder. And there it is. Once you understand the mechanics of copy, move, or MV, is exactly the same, except it doesn't make copies. Think of it like cut and paste in Finder. So if I did the exact same thing, MV index.html, HTML, index.html. So I move the index.html, this thing here. If I move this into the HTML folder, we would expect to see this disappear and reappear under the HTML folder. And it moved. Any questions about that?
None at all.
And it works in vice versa. So now that I've moved index.html into the HTML folder, I could do the reverse. I could move HTML's index.html back into this folder that I'm currently at. So I took it out of there and I placed it back in this directory. Okay, that's all I'm going to show you on these five commands. Now let's work on an exercise together. And we're going to skip over make dir. Go. So I want everybody to go and create a clone of this repository called deluxe animals. Now, remember to create a clone, we have to go into GitHub Desktop. And I'll paste this link here in a second, but remember to create a clone of someone else's repository on GitHub. We go to GitHub Desktop, we click on Add, Clone Repository, and then you can paste this on the URL side, rather. You can paste this. I think you could just paste, oops, sorry. I think you could just paste this whole URL here. Yeah. So here's the link. So go into GitHub Desktop and clone down that repository.
I have a question. How do you get out of the current repository that you're in? Because I'm currently in the attendance that we had on day 2, but I want to get out of that so I can search for.
Absolutely. So the way that you do it is you go up to this repo picker up here in the top left, where it says current repository, it says attendance, right?
Right.
So click on that and then hit add
Oh,
clone repository. And then switch over to the URL box and paste in that link that I just posted in Slack.
awesome.
And when you clone it down, it should automatically switch to the thing that you just cloned. If it doesn't, you can go back over to the left and make sure that you've got it selected. All right. Anybody having problems cloning down the animals repo?
I cloned mine, and then I thought I pasted the URL in the wrong spot and deleted the whole thing. I'm trying to re-add and then click clone. When I click on the URL tab though and paste it, it says this folder contains files.
Right. So you've already got it cloned. It's saying don't do it again because it thinks you already have it cloned.
I
Go
removed
click on
it.
you removed it from the left over here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the files are still on your hard drive. I think the way that you could do this is let me get to the same spot that you're at. So I've removed mine. Now I'm going to paste. The way that you can get around this is when it gives you this error, this folder contains files, can only clone to empty folders. When it gives you this error, change that local path down below from animals to animals 2 or something else different than just animals, and then reclone. That will put it in a different folder and get you around that.
All right, I'll try that. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Once you've got animals cloned down, before we jump into the exercise, what I want you to do is I want you to open the project up in VS Code. I want you to go into the README. So open it up in VS Code, go into the README. It should just have the word animals. I want you to just put your name in here. I want you to make a commit. And it's going to say down here in the commit box, it's going to say you don't have the ability to push to animals. Do you want to make a fork? Say yes, I do want to make a fork. So I want everybody to make a fork of the animals repo. Make a fork and then push that up.
Can you show me that again? From the Git desktop, where do we go from there?
So from Git Desktop, what I'm asking people to do is, let's get rid of this. Okay. So I want you to open up VS Code.
Oh, okay, I see. Open in Visual Studio Code.
Yep.
Just authors, and then go to README.
Go into README, put your name in there.
Okay.
Come back to GitHub Desktop.
Okay.
So, come back to GitHub Desktop, and then down here where it says commit, I want you to, it's going to say that you can't push to this repository. Are you seeing that?
Let me see. I don't see an error on my end.
Do you mind sharing your screen?
Okay.
Oh, okay. So you're on the animals repo. Go ahead and push origin.
Push origin.
Okay,
Okay,
now hit fork this repository.
gotcha.
And then when it says how are you planning to use this, feel free to click either one of them. I think the easier of the two options will be the for my own purpose one, but either one will work. Yep, go ahead and hit continue, and then hit push origin again.
Perfect.
Excellent. Yep. Is everybody else able to make a fork? Cool. And then the last thing I'm going to ask, and thank you for bearing with me, but I have to do this every night. The last thing I'm going to ask is that you get the link for your fork, and let's just use that as attendance tonight. So I'll create a new column on the portfolio links, and we'll use that to enter in attendance.
You
And then
said to, oh,
you can
sorry,
get the
go ahead.
link. You can get the link to that fork. I'm share my screen. Okay. You can get the link to that fork through GitHub Desktop. You can go up to repository and view on GitHub, and that should take you directly to your fork. Just grab that link in GitHub and paste it here in inside of the GitHub spreadsheet.
So I did creating for so to contribute to the parent project or do for my own purpose when I do continue.
Either will work. For my own purpose, I think will be a little bit easier.
Okay. And
So
then
y'all
push to
should each
origin.
have, yep, push to origin. Y'all should all have your own fork of the animals repo. And you can confirm that by going to GitHub, clicking on your profile and going to repositories. It will show up underneath your repositories as a fork. Bear,
Mm,
Harley, you are both pasting links to my animals repo. I think let's just check your GitHub real quick and look at your repositories. Yep, so you both have forks. We just need to change up your links a little bit. Fix that. You also correctly made a fork. Let's just fix that. There we go. And I think this is probably a good enough time to take a break. If you need help getting your fork set up, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see everybody at 7 o'clock. If you've got your fork and you're good to go, feel free to see you back at 7.
I do need help, but not with the fork. So if anybody needs help with the fork, go ahead.
Okay. Um, Yeah, go for it, Joe.
Alrighty. I don't know what was going on with my original domain, so I'll probably deal with that later. I did buy a like a test domain on Namecheap for now.
Hmm.
It's still not loading into GitHub pages. I don't.
Yeah. All right. Austin, there's still time. There's still time and hope. Apparently, people are using ChatGPT to help, which I don't know how I feel about that, but uh, there's still time. You have like uh,
If I
however long we have left in class.
if I want to be honest, like ChatGPT didn't really help me that much. To be honest, like I literally have to use like Stack Overflow and stuff. Like I tried it. Like I'm not gonna lie, I did try ChatGPT, but it didn't really help too much.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so this is the last thing that I have tonight. Recording is going. Last thing that I have for tonight is we're going to practice moving some files, and then we're going to call it. Here is the screen. Okay. So the goal is with the repo that we just cloned, the fork of the animals repo that you all now have on your computers, the goal is to move all the animals out of the pens and into the barn. And what I mean by that is if you go to GitHub Desktop and you look at the animals repo, open it up in VS Code, you should see several folders. Inside of these folders, you've got a chicken.html, a cow.html, goat, horse, and cat. These are all the animals in the barn. And I know that everybody could do this in Finder in 2 seconds, but what I'm asking you to do is to do this in the terminal. So from within this repo, what I'd like you to do is open up a new terminal. And using the commands that we went through earlier, so recall the 5 commands that I showed you, cd, mv, cp, pwd, and ls. Using those 5 commands, I'd like you to take all the animals from the pens and move them into the barn folder. Does that make sense? Does anybody have any questions about that?
None at all.
Once you think that you've got it, commit and push. So, right, because moving the files will change the files within the repo. Those will count as changes that we can then commit and push up. So once you think you've got it, commit and push, and uh, I'll add another column to the GitHub portfolios link called animals rehomed, and just leave me a yes or something in here once you think you've got it and pushed up.
So are we just pushing like the animals to the root or
Not to the root of the repo, but rather into the barn folder. Does that make sense?
oh yeah.
And just a quick hint here. Notice how when I opened my terminal, it put my terminal inside the indoor pen. This is going to be a little bit difficult because I'm going to need to move things up outside of the folder. If you want to make this a little bit easier on yourself, just right click in Explorer and open in the integrated terminal and make sure that when you type in PWD in that terminal, make sure that it says animals or animals 2. Make sure that you're sitting in the top of that animals folder. That will make your commands a lot easier to run.
so the indoor pen, outdoor pen, and those HTML folders just move them to the barn,
You just
oh,
move all the HTML folders into the barn,
including the cat.
including the cat, all
Okay,
the animals.
okay.
Just as a reminder, remember that the move command takes two arguments. It takes what you want to move and where you want to move it to. Give you a couple minutes to try that out. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and move the cat. Move cat to the barn. Anybody having any problems moving their animals to the barn?
I am. I don't know what I'm doing.
Same.
Should we do a couple
That's
more together? See what
I was gonna say it's basically like what you're doing is using CD. You're moving to like you see barn, indoor pen, outdoor pen. So what you're doing is mostly a lot of CD, MV, CD, and then LS to check where you're moving it to. So like, can I just for example, I'll say do CD, indoor pen, and then enter, and then you're in there, and then as I'm not trying to give too much. I know you're just sitting there, Nathan, just like don't give him the answers.
Oh, no, 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 no. Go for it.
So you're doing a CD where you want to move to, so indoor pen. You're now in indoor pen, and then you can move whatever in there to wherever you wanted to move it to.
Let's do one together.
Yes, please.
So we've done on my machine, I did the cat, but I'm gonna just undo that change by going to GitHub desktop and I'm gonna discard these changes and that will undo all that. Okay. So let's start with the easy one. Let's move the cat into the barn. So we could do this really quickly by just dragging and dropping, but that would be cheating. We're not going to cheat. We're going to do this through the terminal. So down here in the terminal, let's move the cat into the barn, and we can do that using the two arguments, what we want to move and where we want to move it to. So we will type MV. What we want to move is the cat. So let's say cat.html. And where we want to move it to is the barn. So we could just say barn, and that alone is enough. The terminal is smart enough to know that you're taking this file and moving it into the barn. So if we do that, hit enter, the cat is now in the barn. So Jada, Harley, any questions about that?
I have a quick question. Do we also use the indoor pen and outdoor pen, move it to the barns?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
But with one constraint, don't just take the pens and move them into the barn. Take the animals and put them into the barn.
oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I'll
Okay.
try that.
I'm not sure how to get this terminal to even work.
Oh, share your screen. Show me what you're looking at. Are you having problems getting the terminal up?
I think so.
Well, that would be an issue. Nice. Okay, so okay, great. So one thing, let's do a quick sanity check here. Inside the terminal, type in pwd and hit enter. Okay, so notice how you're sitting inside of your home folder. Um, you are no longer inside of the repository. You're no longer sitting inside of the folder that contains all that code. So if you do an ls here, so take a look around you, just do an ls and list out the files that are currently here. So see, you're at your home folder. This is where documents and downloads and all that sort of stuff is. Do you recognize this place on your computer?
No,
Well, when you open Finder, don't you normally see this kind of stuff?
I'm very new to Mac, so
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, this is your home folder. In Macs, it's kind of like Windows. In Macs, like your home folder typically has like downloads and desktop and anyways, none of that is relevant. What is relevant is how do you get your terminal back where the code is. The answer to that is the easiest way to do that is to go over on the right and right click in here somewhere in this big white open empty space and right click and do open an integrated terminal, this thing. Cool.
oh.
New terminal. I do a PWD real quick and just prove that I'm not a liar. Yep. So notice how you're back in the animals folder. This is where you want to be. Okay. From here, let's move one of the first animals. Do an LS and let's see what's around you. All right. You got the cat there. Let's move the cat into the barn.
So
So remember, MV takes two arguments, what you want to move and where you want to move it to. So we want to move the cat into the barn. Perfect. Do an LS and let's just see. Sure enough, the cat's no longer here. You're good to go. Now uh, let's do everything in the pens. And
so
I'll leave you
basically just repeat that whole thing.
pretty much for all the other animals.
Okay.
If you get into a weird spot, don't forget to PWD and make sure you are where you think you are. That's kind of the one troubleshooting tip I have for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So Jada, were you able to figure it out?
I had the same issue as her. So once
Oh,
you do it, I was able to follow along.
excellent. Yeah, and I should have pointed that out. Whenever you just type CD and don't give it any arguments, you're going to jump from wherever you are back to your home directory, and that can be good or bad. In this case, um, I think it's a little confusing. If you ever get into a weird situation, though, PWD and check where it says that you are, and don't be afraid to open multiple terminals. Just go back over and grab a new one and try again. Anybody
I
else?
have I have a situation.
Yeah.
So as I was doing move, I thought I was moving the chicken and what was the other one? Cow
Mhm.
to barn. They're not there. And then
Okay.
I completely
Round two.
lost chicken.
they
You
did,
lost your chicken.
yeah, they got deleted. They
My
they got
animals
dereg.
beefed it.
Yeah. Like if you want
So,
me to share my screen?
well, I've got something for you. Let me share my screen and show you how to get out of this situation because we're using Git. Uh, I'll do the same thing. I'll nuke my chicken, I'll nuke the cow, I'll nuke the goat. Because this is Git, if we go back over here to GitHub desktop,
Can you
remember
share
we're
screen?
sorry. Thank you. Um, because this is GitHub desktop, if I nuke the cat and I delete all of these files, I no longer have any animals in my barn. If I go back over to GitHub desktop, it will show that these things have been deleted. And if I want to get all these files back and I want to get back to the original state of the barn, all I have to do is discard changes on each of these files, and that will get them back. Now I have all of my stuff recovered.
Quick question that I have. How do I access? For example, I'm trying to access the indoor pen. I'm trying move my goat.html to barn. I think I have to get it out of that folder first. I might be missing a step.
Yeah, so what we can move one of the animals from the pen to the barn. I'll show how to do that here in a second. Um, I want to just check and make sure that Cornelius and Desiree, were you able to discard those changes and get those animals back?
Yeah, I found
Yes.
my chicken.
Cool. Yeah, I apologize. When you discard changes, it's going to undo the work that you did, but hopefully you could get back. I think I've given people enough time to try this out on their own. I'm just going to go through and show you how I would do this, if that's helpful.
Yes, please.
So the first one we talked about earlier, moving the cat into the barn, is pretty straightforward. Just move cat.html into the barn. The other ones inside the pens are a little trickier because we have to move not just we can't just move chicken.html into the barn, right? And we get an error when we try to do that because it's saying that there is no file named chicken.html. And the reason why is if we look at where we currently are, we're looking at three subfolders: barn, indoor pen, and outdoor pen. So if I try to say move chicken.html into the barn, well, chicken.html doesn't exist in this folder. So I have to reach into the folder that the chicken does exist in, the indoor pen, and pluck him out of the indoor pen and put him into the barn. And the way that we do that is MV takes two arguments, what you want to move and where you want to move it to. So we need to move from the indoor pen, the chicken.html, into the barn. And then we need to rinse and repeat for the others. Any questions about that? Anybody having trouble doing that? Once you're able to move all the animals out, be sure to commit and push that up to your fork.
I'm gonna change what directory I'm in. It keeps telling me permission denied.
TWD, where are you at?
If I oops, PWD says I'm in users slash Joseph slash document slash GitHub slash animal slash barn.
Slash barn. So you're inside of barn, and what are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to go into animals.
So you're already in animals. You're inside the barn folder
Move,
inside
move,
of
move
animals.
out of barn, I guess is what I'm trying to
Oh,
do.
good question. Let me share my screen and show you how to do that. So in the terminal, if we CD into one of these pens or we CD into barn, the question is, how can we get out of barn? How can we go up a level? And the answer is CD dot dot. CD dot dot means take me wherever I'm at and let me move up a directory. And you can repeat that as many times as you want. You can repeat until you reach the top of your hard drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was stuck there. I was stuck in indoor because I moved directories there and I just couldn't get out.
And that's fine. If you just need to get back to animals, you can always right click and open up a new terminal, and that will put you back in that animals folder. That's one way of doing it. But yeah, if you get into a pen and you want to get back out, just cd dot dot, and that will move you up a layer, up a folder.
So why is it that when I try to target what's CD stand for again?
Change directory.
Change it. All right. So why is it that when I target uh the next level up, why does it say my permissions are denied?
Can you share your screen? I have no idea why you would be getting a permission denied error.
Let's see. Excuse my mess.
So you're inside of animals. Okay.
Right here. Permission denied.
Okay. So you're trying to CD to that location. So make
Oh,
sure that you
maybe I didn't
CD
have the
to it.
C. Yeah, maybe I didn't have the CD there. I was just trying to copy and
And
paste it really quick then.
it looked like your command earlier to go straight to the barn. It looked like that worked.
It did work. Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
was. I guess I just was copying and pasting really quick.
Yeah, it's a little bit deceptive of an error message. Okay. Well, if you were able to successfully move the animals from the barn, or sorry, from the pens into the barn, then that's awesome. And be sure to commit and push that up to your fork. If you weren't able to, I hope that you got a little bit of experience with navigating around in the terminal. Again, this is going to come in handy later on um, when you, this is going to come in handy throughout the course uh, as you use tools from the command line, of which there are some that you can only use from the command line. Okay, we made sure the websites worked. We did a couple fun rabbit trail JavaScript things. We did the terminal stuff. Now we're done. I'm not going to see any of you for several weeks. I'm really looking forward to when we meet next, because by the time that I see all of you next, you're going to be way more comfortable with JavaScript. You'll have learned some React. You'll also have spent some time working on databases, which is a lot of fun. And then you'll have a capstone. You'll be actively working on your capstone. And when you get to me next, we're going to do a lot of the same stuff that we did this week, but with React and a whole new programming language that we will need to deploy. We're also going to end up using services that aren't GitHub pages, because GitHub pages just won't work when we get to your capstones. The capstones will be too complex at that point to continue serving on GitHub pages. So I really have appreciated y'all letting me spend this week coding with you and working on this stuff with you. I can't wait until I see y'all next. It's my favorite part of uh, of the classes, helping you get your capstones deployed. So thank you all so much for your time and for your attendance. Um, and there are no other questions. We're done for this evening. And I know it's Thursday, but have a great soon to be weekend, Memorial weekend, if you have Memorial Day off.
Yeah, we do. But definitely this is a great week in learning new things about terminal and using GitHub.
Perfect. I do have one thing that I ask. Please try to use Git. You're not going to be required. Max is not going to make you use Git over the next couple of weeks. And what could happen, and what I've seen in the past, is I come back in a month or so and everybody has amnesia and they go, I don't know what Git is. We haven't used Git since we saw Nathan. Um, please don't let that happen. Please, as soon as you start working on your capstone, I know a couple people have already, but as soon as you start working on your capstone, throw it up on a repo. You'll be so happy that you did. And if you start flexing that muscle now and you make sure that you do your commits and pushes now, by the time you get to me, you'll be like, I'm a Git pro, and that's what I'm hoping you do. Don't if I see you next time and I go and look at your GitHub repo and it says last push to 3 months ago, um, I won't do anything, but I might, yeah, I'll roll my eyes like I'm rolling my eyes now because it's bound to happen. But
Mhm.
please do, please try to use Git. It will only benefit you and help you build out that portfolio. Any
I
other
have a
questions for me
question.
before we end? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question that's kind of specific, but in essentially pushing and committing, specifically this animal repo, but also in the past, I've always had like trouble trying to narrow down a descriptor for the commit message. And I just wanted to know what the common conventions are. Like, for example, we essentially reorganized the files and folders, but I didn't know how to articulate that so that I don't know if
You just
somebody
did.
was through. Okay, okay, awesome.
Yeah, you just did. It's human readable. Don't sweat it. Don't overthink it. You just articulated it to me. The only thing that I would change is the way that you articulated it was great. You renamed some folders, you moved some animals. That's awesome. In my opinion, that's even slightly too long. Move some animals. Good enough. Those messages, you'll get better at them the more time you spend committing and pushing, which is why I'm begging all of you to please, please practice using Git in between now and when I see you again. You'll only get better at it and you'll only get a sense for what messages make sense. Because remember, those messages are for you. If you ever need to go back and look at, okay, I need to undo this, or I need to go back and look at what I was thinking when I moved the animals from the barn, like which animals did I move? Having those messages there will help you to easily pinpoint of what you did at each step. Great
Right. And I
question.
was also thinking when working collaboratively, like how even more important it is to maybe be more descriptive in those
That's a
updates.
great point. That's a really good point. I know a lot of times I've been working on a project with somebody else, and when you do a git pull, it tells you these are the commit messages, and then it tells you what files have changed. And seeing both of those things is a great clue to what your coworkers have been doing. Um, I work at a company that has 3,000 software engineers. So every morning when I pull software, it's like the wall of death. I mean, there's a million things that have changed overnight. So sometimes those commit messages aren't really helpful, but especially in smaller projects, they can be. Joe?
Do you have any resources, tips, or tricks for managing domains and kind of like what I guess just like a glossary of things, what to do in certain instances if you want to like change the behavior of like a domain. Um,
Um, Use my slides. That will help you with the common things that we did this week. Because if you set up another domain, you're going to go, how do I link that up to GitHub pages? Slides. Everything that I talked about is in step-by-step format in the slides. So there's one resource. The other resources that I can recommend are really just Google searching. Like if you have a very specific task, like I want to set up a subdomain on my domain, Google. ChatGPT sometimes, if sometimes it's hit or miss, like you've seen, but um, uh, also, don't forget to take notes yourself. Like it's great to be able to go and Google search these things, but when you figure it out for yourself, be sure to write that down and save it somewhere because keeping those notes for yourself is also really helpful. Did that answer your question? I feel like I danced around it a little bit.
no, figured there wasn't like some like solid source for managing domains. But
It's
yeah, I
not a
was trying to
big
like look at
playbook.
like the question marks for each section were a little lackluster, so I didn't know if there was like more to it.
No,
But
sorry, I don't. There's not one playbook because you can pretty much do anything. So you kind of have to dig into specifically what it is you're trying to accomplish. Cornelius?
Yes, I'm still having trouble with the cat one for moving.
Oh yeah, just share your screen. Let's see what you got.
Yep, give me 1 second. Oh, wait, sorry. So try, why is this up here? Sorry. So yes, I
Oh, cool.
tried.
So you're in the animals folder. You just need to move cat into barn. So remember, move has two arguments: what you want to move and where you want to move it to. So try MV, and then what you want to move is the cat, right?
Yeah.
So cat.html, and then space, and then
Oh,
where you want to move it. Perfect. That's it.
oh, okay. Well, I was still tripping because I thought it was in outdoor. It was out.
Oh
Okay,
no, nope. It was right there at the root of the project.
gotcha. Thank you. And then, like you
Yeah,
said, push to original.
commit and push. Yep.
All right.
Terry.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I don't know if you like know or not, but have you ever like throughout like the cohort and stuff, have you ever experienced like somebody like working with like somebody else in a capstone together or
Uh, yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of cohorts where students have gotten together and worked on their capstones together. I've never had like two students do a joint capstone before, if that's what you're asking.
yeah, that's what I was asking. And
Um, I think that's actually a really cool idea. I don't know if that goes against the like structure of the capstone. Like I really like the idea, and I've talked to Max about this. I really like the idea of practicing the social aspect of Git somehow, where like multiple people are pushing to a project together. Um, but I don't have an answer for that. I don't know how to structure that, to be
I was gonna
honest.
say that's probably a good idea. Like that's probably a subject like you can do individual or do the other aspect of working as a dual team on a project. Because that I believe this cohort is probably perfect to utilize both aspects of independent full stack and cooperating full stack development, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Mm,
I do. Go ahead,
no, I was gonna
Jerry.
say maybe if you find someone who's doing a similar to you, let's say like when I was watching the past cohorts, like two people did like a grocery shopping list, you probably could bounce ideas off of each other or something like that. That's what I was thinking. But y'all would still have
And
your own project.
Um, and to be clear, folks, we're past time, so we're just kind of talking at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.